They have destroyed my servant. They will be destroyed. Good evening, folks, and welcome to the Horror Corner. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Erschen, and this week we are doing another movie review. This is Taste the Blood of Dracula. What an awesome name, right? I love it. Taste the Blood of Dracula. I have it as part of this 4-pack of Hammer Dracula films. Eventually, of course, I want to get the films separately on Blu-ray. I want to get all of the Hammer Draculas on Blu-ray. But we'll get there, you know. At any rate, this is one of my absolute favorite in the Hammer Dracula franchise. So the film, of course, stars the legendary Christopher Lee in the role of Count Dracula once again. So the film takes place shortly after the events of Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. Another great title, isn't it? So this guy happens to stumble across and he witnesses the death of Dracula from Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. He sees him when he gets impaled on the cross and he's dying, the blood's pouring from his eyeballs, and and he sees Dracula die and turn into ash, and his blood is nothing but powder, and there's nothing left there but his cape and his ring and the Dracula medallion. So he kind of sees an opportunity, you know, maybe I can make some money, maybe I can sell this stuff, you know, to some sucker who doesn't understand the evil of Dracula and what can happen when you bring Dracula into play. We've seen it happen many times throughout the franchise. He gets conjured in different ways, but I really enjoy what they bring to the table in this film. It's one of my favorite plots of the Hammer Dracula franchise. I love the story, it's very engaging. I love the characters. I love the awesome set design, the gothic feel that Hammer is so well known for. And you got great acting too. I love the characters. So what happens is we meet these rich aristocrats, you know. These rich guys that have nothing better to do with their lives than get the next high, get to the next level of debauchery, you know. And they're thrill seekers, basically. They like to hang around at brothels and mess around with young women, you know. And these guys that are like in their 40s, 50s maybe. So they run into this guy at the brothel by the name of Lord Courtly, and he's this very young, handsome, charming young man who's into some really wicked stuff. He's into some evil stuff. And they're intrigued by him. They're very curious about him. And apparently he's into some black magic, and he throws black masses at church, you know. He's into some dark shit. And the guys are very intrigued by that. They're like, what can we do with this guy here? So the guy gives them an offer. He's like, are you willing to sell your soul to the devil? Yeah, Ralph Bates does a great job in the role of Lord Courtly. I love it. And so he brings him to the dude. He knows the guy that has Dracula's cape and his ring and the medallion and the blood, of course. The blood of Dracula. So he's like, you just need to purchase the items, and then from there I'm going to show you new levels of evil, you know. So they do it. And they end up going to the church, and the dude throws a black mass. You see the big satanic thing in the background, and he's got the altar set up with all the candles, and it's pretty messed up, you know. It's pretty evil. Yeah, but once Rosemary's Baby came out, then they started having a lot of satanic themes in like the 70s films, and you know that carried over into Hammer films. I think was the first one to feature that type of satanic evil stuff. But it's very interesting, it's very intriguing. So what happens is he pours the powder into these chalices, and he gives it to the 3 aristocrats. And what happens is he cuts his wrist and pours it into the chalice, and you see the blood bubbling up in the chalice, and it's like smoking. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? And the dudes are freaking out, and he starts saying the passages and the satanic rites and all this stuff that throws the black magic, and he uses that to try and conjure up Dracula, you know. And he's like, here, drink the blood. And the guys are freaking out. No, you drink the filth. And so he does drink it. Lord Courtly drinks the blood of Dracula from the chalice. And he starts freaking out. He starts choking and coughing and convulsing. And the other guys are freaking out. Get away from me, get away from me. And they start beating on him. They start beating him with a cane and beating him, giving him a boot party. And yeah, they kill him. He ends up dead. But what happens is Dracula is released through the body of Lord Courtly. And once he is arisen, he's like, you guys have killed my servant. Now you will be destroyed. And he sets about on a mission to kill each member of the little circle of rich aristocrats there, one by one, and we see that happen throughout the film. And we see him like count down, the first, the second. Yeah, Dracula doesn't have too many lines in the film, but it doesn't matter. Just the presence of Christopher Lee as Dracula. He's so menacing. He's so evil. He's got that seductive power through his eyes, you know. You see his bloodshot eyes up close. And just Christopher Lee is just absolutely amazing in the role, and this film is no exception. He does some of his best work in this film. Even without too many lines, it doesn't matter. He's just so awesome. And I'm so happy that they did put him in the film, because originally it wasn't supposed to be a Dracula film. But I'm so glad they did, because it works perfectly. And it's so great to see the Hammer series continue with Christopher Lee. So we also meet Alice, as played by Linda Hayden, who's just beautiful, gorgeous, you know. The standard Hammer vixen, you know. And her father is one of the rich aristocrats. And he's very abusive. He's very mentally and verbally abusive to her, and even physically abusive. So yeah, these men are bad men, you know. And of course, her boyfriend by the name of Paul, as played by Anthony Corlin, he's the son of one of the other aristocrat dudes. So it's all ties together, folks. So her boyfriend, you know, they're trying to get married, but her father doesn't approve. She thinks she's just being a harlot, you know. He hates the guy for some reason. But he happens to be the son of one of the other guys. So yeah, he doesn't approve of young Paul. So what happens is Alice falls under the spell of Count Dracula. He tracks her down and he starts fixating on her. He gets really intrigued by Alice. She thinks she's so beautiful and wants her to be one of his brides. One of the brides of Dracula. And she does become such, but Paul finds out about it, and he sets about on a mission to take down the monster known as Count Dracula once and for all, and put him back to hell. The thing is, he doesn't really know anything about vampires and the history of vampires, so he goes to talk to the father, and the father has kind of studied up on it a little. He has books about vampires, and he says, well, look at this book, read up, do your history, and he does. So he learns how to take on the monster known as Dracula, and the powers of the vampire, the seductive powers of the vampire, and how to fight it off. So it's such a great story, and Isla Blair also stars in the film as Lucy, who is the sister of Paul as well. So yeah, it all ties together. It's like a family thing, you know. And Lucy also falls under the spell of Dracula. So Dracula takes Alice to his castle as well as young Lucy. And yeah, they become his brides. So we end up having a big final battle at the castle of Dracula, and it's awesome. You know, it's very gothic. So awesome. I love Christopher Lee in the role of Count Dracula. I love Ralph Bates in the role of Lord Courtly. Everyone in this film is fantastic. Excellent acting. Some of the best in the Hammer Dracula series. And like I said, I love the plot of it. It works so well. I love the darkness, the evil, the satanic rituals, and it's pretty messed up when you think about it, but it's awesome at the same time. So yes, if you guys haven't seen it, please run and buy Taste the Blood of Dracula from Hammer Films, as directed by Peter Sasdy, and starring Linda Hayden, Christopher Lee, Ralph Bates, Isla Blair. Just one of the best in the Hammer Dracula franchise. So guys, that's my review of Taste the Blood of Dracula from Hammer Films, and thank you for joining me, Sean Patrick Erschen, in the Horror Corner. Tune in and stay scared.